Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, clean energy, and the stock markets. And I have extra noise coming. Bill, can you hear me okay? Bill? Well, Bill looks a little frozen.
Where did I go?
I hear Bill, but his video is frozen.
Oh my.
Yes. So we're starting out the EV World show today with our host and founder, Bill Moore, is frozen on the screen. So this is not our normal way. Donut. Yes, donut. I don't know. Maybe Bill needs a donut. I don't recommend donuts. They're like a human biological disaster. It's incredibly tasty. All right. Well, we want to talk about the stocks. What we got? 396 on Tesla, up a little bit. Rivian's up a little bit. Oh my, Lucid's up a little bit. They're just all on the green, and 2% isn't a small change. Even Ford's doing all right today. Oh, Donut Labs is telling the truth. Yes, he loves that. NVIDIA down a little. AMD down a little. And AMD and NVIDIA are more indicative of the overall stock market. Just interesting, the EV stocks are up. Microsoft's down a little. All of your AI-related stocks seem to be down a little bit. NewScale up 2%. NewScale's had some bad press lately. People are complaining that they're lying about a whole lot of different things. They're doing some sketchy stuff, and I think it's people trying to do naked short selling, and they're trying to do it to NewScale. Oklo up a little bit. They're at $60. That's as cheap as I've ever seen them. Here we go. A little bit more. You're getting a little again. Oh, the EV stocks went even up a little bit more. So go figure. Well, Bill is out figuring out his, internet, and why. Bill often has audio challenges, so that's okay. Let's go ahead and talk about our first topic today. It's 2026 Nuclear Energy Summit. Global leaders are tripling down on nuclear. Belgium, Brazil, China, and Italy just joined 38 other countries pledging to triple nuclear capacity by 2050 at the Paris summit that was just last week. The EU announced a 200 million euro guarantee for private investments in small modular reactors and new unified licensing rules across member states. Now, I'll tell you, 200 million euros is a lot, sounds like a lot of money, but Texas did $350 million, which is more than 200 million euros. So Texas made a bigger commitment than the EU did. But the World Bank and IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, or something like that, partnership now unlocking financing for nuclear projects in developing nations, historically excluded from international funding. China's Linglong One, the world's first onshore SMR, connects to grid this year. Japan restarted 15 reactors post-Fukushima. Now, Fukushima was a very tragic accident. What we had a tsunami, an earthquake and a tsunami that followed right afterwards, and caused significant destruction, or at least to this nuclear power plant. And so I think Japan shut down at some point, I think pretty much all of its nuclear power, and now they've got them all restarted again. Nuclear currently provides 10% of global electricity, but 25% of low carbon power. Let's see. All right, Bill, are we doing a little better there?
Oh yeah, I don't know what happened. Just suddenly,
you lost. Did you just simply lose audio?
I lost even the video. I don't know what happened.
So, you were frozen on screen before you left. So
yeah. Oh well.
I don't know. I think I restarted my computer for the first time since I rebuilt it right before this because my computer was acting funny.
Well, I'm giving thought to this new Mac Neo.
Are you?
Apparently, it's a really hot item. So we'll see.
One nice thing in technology that an advantage a Mac typically has over a PC is it typically has a lot more video capability.
Oh yeah.
So you pay extra for the Mac that you could pay on a PC. It's just everybody cheaps out on the video card in a PC typically, and Mac is always because Apple's software has always been kind of designed for graphically oriented people. They've required that, and it wouldn't
Yep.
work on a PC anyway. That's why people of pretty much always all your Adobe products.
I have been using Mac products since 1984. So you can see, I mean, I have a PC. I've had PCs. I just don't like them. I mean,
Hey,
I have to
I had
use
an
them. But,
Apple II. I had an Apple II Plus that had an extra 16K of RAM,
oh boy.
and I had a double disk drive, and didn't have to use a tape backup.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I remember you'd type in PR number 6 to start the damn thing and get it to access one of the disk drives and start the computer. So there was no operating system internally. There was no hard drive. It was just all on floppies.
Well, this machine I'm using is well over a decade old, something like that. So yeah, probably time to upgrade.
Yeah, I just rebuilt mine recently, and
well, that's not easy to do with a MacBook Air.
No, I get that. No, but I use PCs and laptops. So, and
okay, before I so rudely re-interrupted, so you're talking about nuclear.
Well, I was, and while you were gone, I discussed a little bit of what's changing in the stock market, because the EV stocks are all up, but all the AI stocks are down.
Yeah.
And the nuclear stocks are okay. It's just interesting that the AI stuff, though, if you look at it, we're just down a hint, so it's not really a change. Here's a Bill question for you. Did you catch the Sandy Munro team tearing apart the new?
I haven't. In fact, I was watching a video this morning, and the guy was talking about the donut battery. He says people were commenting to him about his review of the donut battery, and he said, "We got to get that, get it to Sandy and have Sandy take it and tear it down and see what's really going on inside that battery, because it's such a." This video that I watched today is by a podcaster called 2-Bit Da Vinci, and I don't know how he came up with that, but anyway, he does some good videos, and so he was looking at retests of the donut battery. All right, this solid state battery built for a motorcycle, and then extrapolating that is that what if Lucid used this battery instead of just the motorcycle, and it's really some interesting conclusions. That sucker, bang, pops up, to a high amperage level, voltage level. Again, I can't keep them straight. I'm sorry. My degree was in theology, not in engineering. My apologies. But you could charge a Lucid using that battery and their apparently BMS. You could charge that thing in something like what was it? I think it was 10 minutes to 80% state of charge, which is Lucid's a big honking battery in that thing. 10 minutes to recharge the battery to 80%. So there's something going on there, and everybody's really. In fact, I just noticed that somebody else has done a video trying to analyze it. So no, to answer the question, I have not looked at what Sandy's done yet, but I will certainly go over and take a look at it.
Okay. Getting back to my regular news here. So I was talking about the EU and all these countries in this conference. It was called the 2026 Nuclear Energy Summit. 38 countries pledged to triple nuclear capacity by 2050. Well, Louisiana just came out. Governor Landry's working group, which includes DEQ. I don't know what DEQ might stand for, but it also mentions Department of Conservation and Public Service Commission, finalize a nuclear framework rolling out in the coming weeks. Its positioning is a power-first economy, explicitly tying nuclear to economic development and rising grid demand. 2025 legislation already fast-tracked SMR permitting to align with federal reactor deployment push. And an LSU Idaho National Labs partnership training next-gen nuclear workforce on SMR tech and grid cybersecurity. You know, LSU always sounds cool and all that. I don't like Baton Rouge. Sorry if anybody from Baton Rouge is listening. That place, I've done some projects in Baton Rouge, and I don't know. That place scares me. And I lived in Memphis for 20 years. That place just seems third worldish.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it is. It is. I remember somebody was working for me, told me his brother had committed murder and was in prison in Angola. And I thought, it's like, why did your brother go to Africa?
Africa, right. No,
right.
Angola. Yeah.
Angola prison outside of Baton Rouge is considered one of the 5 worst prisons on the planet.
Yeah. I think, isn't that where Speaker Mike Johnson got his degree, was LSU?
Oh, it could be.
Yeah.
It could be. I'm just saying. And I've known lots of
another guy with, I think it's a theology degree. So.
Yeah. It's hard for you to criticize somebody about that, isn't it?
Yeah. Our intentions were good.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Here you ended up doing EV news,
and I ended up doing EVs. There was a long road between there and here, but yeah.
So what do you think is a more trusted profession, giving EV news or being a politician?
Can I be both?
Well, I think we have a decent amount of ethics. Thanks to our funding by the Chinese Communist Party. No, I'm always kidding about that.
There's no funding. There's no funding coming from anyone to keep this thing on the air, folks.
We don't even have ads on the EV World website.
And that's deliberate.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be swayed, by how an advertiser feels about something.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell it the way I feel about it. Now, I might be wrong, and I'm open to being convinced that I'm wrong. I hope I'm open-minded enough about that. But I don't want some advertiser who's afraid he's going to lose a line of customers, saying, you better shut up about whatever it is they want me to shut up about. So.
Yeah. Oddly, and this wasn't planned. My news feed, the third article is also on nuclear. U.S. Uprise Initiative, 5 gigawatts more nuclear from existing reactors. So the Trump administration's Department of Energy program targets 5 gigawatts of additional capacity through nuclear uprates, not new builds. They're intending to up the capacity of 94 existing commercial reactors, up to 80% financing at attractive rates for eligible uprate projects. Now, the key difference here is squeezing more power from current infrastructure versus waiting years for new plants, addresses AI data center demand spike without transmission build-out delays. This AI thing requires so much energy that they have to do everything. I mean, it's like triaging the grid. It's just like, people try to blame EVs for, being this huge increase in energy usage, and it's a drop in the bucket. It's a drop in the bucket. And it's so funny because, AI is just like, we've gone to war, and, it's like a MASH style, operation trying to triage all the patients coming and all the soldiers coming and the bleeding, because that's the way it seems like our grid is going. We've got to, that's why they're still running coal power plants. Is mainly because
Speaking of which, I decided, hey, how much over the weekend our grid was at 72% wind power.
Nice.
Now, here's what of course I would do that.
There we go. That's the end of the show.
Yep. Dang it. Never fails. Never fails.
Bill, I flew in from my tennis tournament at about 2 a.m. or it was like 1:30 a.m. yesterday morning. Oh, nice.
Okay,
this is the quality of graphics we have.
This is the quality of graphics we have. Yeah, the green is wind, right? Nuclear is down there, that little brown wedge next to it.
Yeah, we're a really low budget production here. You know, it's not like up on the wall
Because we
behind
don't
Bill. Yeah.
because we don't have advertisers.
Yeah, that's pretty
Oh,
funny. I was so the pilots were like, "There's up to 55-mile-per-hour wind gusts going through Omaha." It was probably the roughest landing I've ever had in Omaha.
oh, I bet. I
Yeah,
bet.
and then when the plane was parked at the gate, the plane was still rocking back and forth.
Because you got that great big fin up there in the
Yeah,
back that's doing this.
yeah,
Yep.
and it's just like it was a little unnerving. It's like, wow, is the plane going to start getting pushed, you know, blown down
Sideways.
the
Yeah.
jetway? Um, let's see. All right, here's our next one, and this is really sad because Bill, you know, I've been doing this show together for almost 3 years now. Okay, it'll be 3 years. The first, you know, like I think around July 10th, something like that is when we started.
Okay.
The show a few years ago. Anyways, Volvo kills the EX30 in the U.S.
Yeah.
after just 2 years. And they said it's a tariff casualty. Now, it had this special way it was originally getting into the country without, you know, paying the 115% tariff. And it was something to do with the fact that Volvo manufactures in the United States and exports from the United States. So Volvo, while they're a Swedish company, well, I guess it's on one side. You have two Volvos, right? You have Volvo trucks and you have Volvo cars, and Volvo
Right.
cars was owned by Geely, but there was still something that Volvo Geely
Got around the rulings. Yeah. Yeah.
was manufacturing in the U.S. and exporting to other countries, and so it was allowing them to circumvent the tariff rules. So production for the EX30, which never was what we were told, and it's not like the Tesla cars. We keep, you know, Musk told us what we were going to get a Cybertruck for like 40 grand or something like that.
Uh-huh.
You know, what we thought that the EX30 was going to come in sub 30K. That was the original deal. It was going to come to us sub 30K, and that never happened. Probably tariffs, right? Probably tariffs drove it up. Dealer markup, who knows? But production is ending in 26 for U.S. markets. It's going to stay going in Canada and Mexico. Dealers had until March 20th to place final orders. It was getting a double tariff hit. They moved production from China to Belgium to avoid the 100% China EV tariff. They got slammed with a 25%
by the European one. Yeah.
Anyways, sales collapsed after the EV tax credit elimination. They sold only 542 units in September, 184 in October. Never recovered to 500 a month since.
Yeah, that's so sad.
So they're calling the strategic error for Volvo a $40,000 entry-level EV, a $30,000 electric entry-level EV couldn't compete without subsidies in the hostile tariff market. Only 5,400 units sold in the first year. Volvo is keeping the EX40 and the EX90 and the upcoming EX60 in the U.S. lineup. It's just that cheap, affordable EV they had brought to the U.S. market. It both was never affordable and just didn't work out. So probably going to still work out overseas though.
Oh yeah,
so it's probably just the U.S. thing.
It is so disappointing to see what is happening. In fact, there's a editor's exclusive on the website where I talk about this. It's so disappointing to see again U.S. taking the lead, which we did in 2000s mandate time period, and then coming back with the Tesla Model S and the Nissan Leaf, and then seeing all of that just simply get shriveled away, and now pretty much the only people running the market now are the Chinese. And I saw an article today where car makers are urging the government, don't let the Chinese in.
No, because it's going to crush.
It's going to, we just crush the industry. So It's sad we had, just like solar, just like wind power, we had the lead, and then we let the oil industry lobbyists kill it. And now here we are back in the same boat again.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like I saw some article yesterday talking about how we invented sodium ion batteries like 40 years ago here in the United States, never did anything with them, and now the Chinese are running with them.
Sure.
The Chinese are running with all kinds of technology the United States has developed and just never figured out what to do with it.
Yeah.
It's not like there weren't people here smart enough to know what to do with it. It's just
they just didn't get the funding to take it beyond the initial lab bench stage. That's
and I was thinking kind of the same thing. I don't know what a BYD Shark, what the price range is, but I'd imagine it's far cheaper than US based full size pickup trucks. But I really don't know what their price range is. Be curious what those would sell for in Canada and Mexico. Okay. Next topic, the Tesla March 9th full self-driving deadline. We've talked about this a couple times. Less drama than the headlines suggested. Let's see. There was a deadline for 8,300 plus full self-driving crash records. It wasn't 8,300 crashes. There was actually only 58 actual incidents identified. I don't know exactly what this means. Let me see if I can go to the original source material for this and not get a paywall thing. There was 8,300 records that Tesla needed to review. It wasn't crashes. In fact, NHTSA said there was only 58 incidents in those 8,300 records. So it's much different than the robotaxi incident data, which is reported and handled separately. Okay, that was kind of interesting. So robotaxi has had a 1 in 13,289 trips accident rate. Most have been at extremely low speeds, or the accident occurred while the robotaxi was stopped. So obviously, the $50,000 on the BYD Shark.
Yeah, I was just looking. That was what I was looking it up here. It depends. By the way, the BYD Shark 6 is a plug-in electric hybrid, so it's not a full electric hybrid. It's a PHEV.
Okay.
So
there's one thing that's different about BYD, because BYD makes a mix of both electric and plug-in hybrids.
They've been building plug-in hybrids now for decades. That was their original claim to fame, was that they had, in fact, some of the very first vehicles they brought into the United States on a test basis were plug-in electric hybrids.
And if you want a car that catches on fire at a pretty high rate, it's the BYD plug-in hybrids.
Yeah.
That is one place where they've been a little weak over the years.
Yes, well, I'm sure they've learned.
I mean,
I hope
they've been the Chevy Bolts of the Chinese EVs. And we'll get to the Chevy Bolt in a bit. Anyway, not trying to crap on the Chevy Bolt, at least not the modern Chevy Bolt. It was the original Chevy Bolt.
Well, yeah, the first batch had problems with the battery manufacturer that they were utilizing supplied them with faulty products. So,
but so there's been 14 robotaxi collisions since June of last year. That's 800,000 miles driven, 1 minor hospitalization. Everything else was property damage. But like I was saying, and even in that hospitalization, it doesn't indicate who caused it, but with them indicating that most of the time the accidents, they were actually stopped, it tells me somebody ran into them, right? So it's not much the robotaxi can do if somebody's determined to run into your car.
Somebody runs into them. So,
yeah. Let me see. Supervised FSD stats had a major crash every 5.3 million miles versus the US average of 660,000 miles. Data spans old FSD versions likely blessing if showing linear improvement trajectory. So that's kind of interesting. It's you always wonder because you hear about how Waymo uses the lidar, and the lidars,
Right.
better than the camera activated things. But I'm like, it really it appears to me that because you've seen people do tests where they put like a Bugs Bunny-ish like thing out, and the Tesla doesn't see it.
Yeah. The Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner thing.
Or maybe it did. I don't remember if it
Yeah.
caused it to stop and the lidar didn't. But I mean,
No,
they can
no,
find ways
no.
where the lidar was better.
Yeah, the camera only sees the painting. The
Mhm.
LiDAR sees the curtain,
There you
right?
go.
So the LiDAR, from what the couple of videos I've looked at, the LiDAR will stop. The Tesla will just buzz right on through it and hit the styrofoam child behind it. Um, so yeah, I think
That was
if
what
I
it
were
was.
gonna, I would go. It's going to be more expensive, but even that's coming down. They're reducing the cost of the lidar system. What is that? The one that we just talked about last week,
The comma 4.
comma. Now I don't know if that's lidar in there or not. I doubt it's probably just camera based. But I mean, the technology is coming down. It's a little tiny thing about that big sticks on your windshield. So maybe we'll get to the point to where we don't need these great big police type racks, on top of the car with things spinning all the time.
Mhm.
Uh, Maybe that'll come down. I mean, we've got what? We have LiDAR now in our smartphones. Some of these guys are going out and they're, exploring the desert and things, and they're using their phones apparently to capture these images and create 3D images based on their cameras. So, we're making progress, and I would imagine there'll come a time when that'll just simply be a standard feature option, probably for a long time still, to get on your car for $1,500 or whatever the profit margin would be on it.
Yeah. I think the plug-in hybrid strategy, especially for full-size trucks, is a pretty good one because we've looked and once again, you calling it a mall crawler, but I know most people I know that own full-size trucks actually use them for work, and they may tow a trailer of some sort. And the towing issue is the one thing that
They're
pure
pulling.
battery.
Yeah, they're pulling. Around here we see them. They're pulling mowers all the time, or they're pulling. Small front loaders, and that's legitimate. That's adding to the economy, building, and so on like that. And I guess if you've got a boat or you've got a mobile home, although I've really found it interesting how many of the places around here are full of RVs that people they can't park it in their yard, so they have to park it at a yard, and all the money that's invested in that for them to use that RV for what, 2 weeks in the year?
Yeah. I think one of the significant things is as we look at the next 10 years of automotive, we're going to be looking for use cases for actually using a gas car. Okay.
Yeah,
We're going to be looking for use cases, where you actually really need to tow something. Okay. If you don't need to tow something, is there really a use for having a gas car anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, because they're more expensive, they're air polluting, all the different things they do for the environment, all the destruction that's caused by oil and gas. I mean, it's certainly, I think you're going to see changes. United States is adopting incredibly slowly, but the rest of the world is really on board.
No, they're moving at a encouraging pace. It could always be faster, but they're moving at an encouraging pace. So, yeah, and cold climates, absolutely.
Well, to a degree, it just depends on how available your recharge network is there, because even diesel has a 15% reduction in efficiency in cold climates.
Yep.
So, there's some arguments even in that space.
There are lots of people driving EVs in Canada.
Yes, and
right?
in Norway.
And in Norway, what is it?
Norway is the big adopter of Tesla.
The big adopter. So I don't think you can get much colder than there. And they're having, because you have the ability, if you have access to a plug, a charger somewhere, either in your garage or a public charger, you can precondition the battery, right?
Yeah, and we've seen some arguments about why EV powered snow removal vehicles make more sense, and part of it has to do with EVs. The way that the energy comes from the engine allows the wheels and all-wheel drive to adapt faster to ice than a gas car does. And so part of it is it's more effective both for usage in snowplows. And they've been doing this in Scandinavia. So we're not seeing that in the United States yet. But I'm just saying there's some weird efficiencies of electric in the bad weather.
The electric, because the electric has no lag time, and it's connected to a computer that is running and sensing all this, and do it in milliseconds, or even whatever, the small nanoseconds, to be able to make those changes.
But the one place where we really saw some challenges with Teslas in a cold environment was that Chicago thing, where all those Uber drivers were having problems. And it had a lot to do with the fact that they weren't, the chargers weren't dispensing energy fast enough, or at all, because they had that. I remember if it was a supercharger bank went down, but there was some challenge in Chicago
I don't remember.
a year or two ago. And I just remember that they were all rideshare drivers, and they were all driving Teslas, and they were probably rentals. And so that was a real challenge, because they weren't charging them at home. They were fully charging them at supercharging. And so once again, we look at some of these use cases where there's still going to be things where EVs just aren't ideal, right? But you look at the idea of, particularly like on an island, it would make sense to have a gas car on an island, and there's just a lot of things where eventually, we'll see changes. The problem is most islands don't have inherent electricity generation.
No.
And so they rely on the most expensive fuels. I was just looking at something earlier, was talking about how Puerto Rico, where I'm trying to work an energy project, they're about to see their electricity skyrocket because they burn bunker and diesel fuel to power their electrical grid. And they were already paying 30 something cents a kilowatt. It's probably going to go up above 50 cents if you live in Puerto Rico.
I bet it will. And of course, the hurricane, they still haven't been able to completely, they're shifting over to a lot of solar, but the hurricane took out a fair share of that had already been built up. So there's that just drive. I think that's what I'm seeing more and more headlines on, is that this is giving a revival to renewable energy, and more than likely to EV. I mean, I'm wondering if this price increase in the in the EV market that we're tracking here, whether or not that's related to what's going on in the Persian Gulf.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. Hell, I mean, we just bombed Karg Island. I wondered if that would actually ever happen, and we managed to only hit military targets, and apparently we didn't damage the oil infrastructure at all.
No, what's interesting is one of the very first thing they bombed was the runway for the airport there, and of course, if they're sending something like 2,500 Marines, Marine Expeditionary Force, whether their plan is to, take the island with that, assuming they can get the ship through the Straits of Hormuz and then up to Karg Island without being attacked. But assuming they can do that, how do you resupply those guys? Because you've just blown up the runway. So I don't know who's planned this thing, but I really question, the sanity of what's going on here. It just doesn't seem like somebody knows what they're doing.
No. I mean, it's not easy to position regime change in a country where the people don't know, because they're not getting outside news, and they're a disarmed populace.
Yeah. I guess, if we were going to do this right, I guess what we should have done was figured out how to, like we did with the Mujahideen, smuggle them weapons. you
Well,
know, because and let the people help in taking over the government away from the mullahs. But
they're letting the bots decide.
yeah,
Um, well, they're not using Claude anymore. That whole thing about Claude has been really.
I like Claude. Claude is my
I don't know,
go-to.
but trying to declare it a supply chain issue is like, come on. Um, oh, well, we like Aptera. We want to see Aptera
Oh, absolutely,
succeed. Um, we
absolutely.
have talked about it recently a couple times. In fact, I think I've got some clips coming out in the next day or two, but they're saying they can start cranking out 100 vehicles a day by the end of the year. And so that would allow them to produce, let's just say 30,000 vehicles a year.
Yeah.
And that would start filling up some of their backlog. I
Well,
think
yeah,
the product's great.
yeah, and that's for people that aren't aware of who Aptera is, they make it's a little tiny, very highly streamlined electric vehicle that you can charge by plugging it in. But the beauty of it is they've covered a significant portion of the body of the car with solar panels. So if you're sitting outdoors, that solar panel charges your car. And in theory, if you drive the typical 30, 40 miles a day, which is what many commuters do, you're running on sunlight.
Yeah,
Your
and a
car's
lot of it is
providing
based
it.
on the fact of what he said. The car is super energy efficient,
Oh
cutting through
man,
the air. Doesn't it burn something, or doesn't it get something like 7 to 9 miles per kilowatt hour? I mean, it's
I
crazy.
wouldn't. It would not surprise me in the least.
Yeah,
Not surprise me
crazily
in the least.
efficient, but it's only a three-wheeled vehicle. It looks like a Cessna. It's got, it's got tricycle landing gear with two wheels in the front, one in the
Yeah,
back.
it looks not I wouldn't say a Cessna. It looks more like a Cirrus.
Okay, Mark,
Yeah,
Cirrus SR22.
the Cirrus. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a unique design. It's really nice for two people. It's got some special features, make it nice for camping. Um, you know, uh, there's some cool things. Yeah, I've seen arguments on whether you could really do 40 miles per day from the photovoltaic, but um, it seems like, even if it's close, it's just phenomenal. Just a
Yeah,
phenomenal achievement.
and to recharge it, really, all you need then is to make up the difference is just the 110 plug, right?
Mhm.
You don't need fast charging, rapid charging, just a 110 plug. It sits overnight, gets a charge, then it sits outdoors in the company parking lot, gets charged up. You know, yeah, there you go. Put a donut battery in it. Absolutely.
You know, um,
Yeah,
yeah,
based on San Diego weather. Yeah,
yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Um, I've had people ask me sometimes about some different things in the EV space and what I think's real or not. And I told you before, when we started doing this show, um, one of the companies I represent has some patents to extend the range of electric vehicles, and I just don't see it as being as necessary as it was when the ideas were thought about several years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And now all of a sudden, I mean, when we have battery packs coming out that can go well beyond 500 miles.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, 400. Seems to me that 400, 250 is the base. That's the base low minimum. And we've got cars now that are easily, 400 miles range.
Yeah, I mean, but you've got Lucids now with 500. And I'm just saying that there's going to be more cars with 500 in the next couple of years. And we're going to keep
well beyond the range of your bladder.
Yeah, yes. Some of the arguments are just, kind of ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I wanted to talk about your Oklahoma article. So this is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that is really.
So oil regulators found hundreds of wells violating Oklahoma rules. Then they ignored their own findings. So basically, Oklahoma took on an ambitious project to catalog all the nation's state injection wells, which shoot toxic waste generated by oil drilling back into the ground. Despite its records showing risk of drinking water pollution, the state chose not to act. Now, did you go through this article?
Not entirely.
Okay.
had the AI analyze it for me.
Yeah. So 5 years ago, Oklahoma oil regulators took on a project with an impressive name. I always love good names on projects, right? For some reason, nobody ever calls anything going through the government green anything, right? Because that's
Right.
really backfired. But this one's called the Source of Truth.
What is the acronym for that?
SOT. Yeah. State officials wanted a comprehensive database capturing all vital information about the more than 11,000 wells in Oklahoma that shoot the toxic byproduct of oil production back underground. I heard about this project from several people during the 18 months I spent reporting on the growing number of cases where oil field wastewater blasted out of old wells, known as purges, after being injected underground at high pressures. State employees also referenced in the project in internal communications I received after filing nearly a dozen public records requests to the Oklahoma Corporate Commission, which regulates the oil and gas industry. The project was supposed to clean up or fix state data regarding how much wastewater was being injected and the pressures at which it was being pushed underground. The agency's databases, many of which were based on decades-old paper records, were riddled with contradictory or missing information. In many cases, they failed to update its records. More than 1,300 errors were identified. The Source of Truth found more than just messy data. It also allowed regulators to pinpoint 600 wells that were clearly operating illegally, injecting wastewater above their permitted pressures or volumes. It's funny, we had that earthquake. What was that? That was like about 8 years ago, probably 8 to 10 years ago, where they said it was fracking in Oklahoma. This is probably part of it too.
And we just had 2 of them in the last 2 weeks in the same area, south central Nebraska.
Yeah. If you're not real familiar with oil production, one of the big things is how much oil comes out of the Permian Basin area of Texas, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that they're really trying to push hard for is to clean up the water there and to use nuclear reactors to help in the process of basically cleaning the water before it goes back into the ground.
Okay, what did they do? I could see them using the steam reformer to take.
Yeah, they're going to use the heat to do something. It's not, for some type of water purification. I don't know exactly what the process is that they're talking about. I see fundraising projects all the time about how to clean the water from fracking and other stuff to make it drinkable again. And I don't know exactly.
Well, that's basically what you take the water, you boil it till it steams, you condense the steam into basically drinkable water. But the question becomes, what happens to the residue that gets left behind? There's got to be pollutants there that you're pulling out of it. You're not cleaning those up. You're just separating those pollutant chemicals, molecules from the, water molecules. So still something needs to be done. I mean, that's the problem with desalinization, right? Mm-hmm. You can create drinkable water, but then you got all the salt residue you got to do something with. So what do? You pump it back out into the ocean, and
Yeah, and it doesn't work.
Yeah,
it doesn't work. You got to just pile the salt up somewhere. That's all you can do.
Use it and spread it on the roads where it's where you need it in the wintertime.
Yeah, send it up here for the winter driving. How is it that we keep getting missed by these massive storms? I mean, we had the storm, but we the snow keeps dumping on Minneapolis.
Well, and the problem, of course, is that right now the western half of the state of Nebraska is on fire because we've been so dry this winter with so little snow that all that grass has caught fire, and you get these high winds, 40, 50, 60, 70 mile an hour windstorms, and there's nothing to stop it. So we've lost, I think, 500,000 acres, something like that, I've heard. And another fire was 150,000 acres. And there's no containing it.
Well, what is it burning on farmlands?
Yeah, it's burning farmland, crop residue, pastures. Yeah.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing for that type of
Oh,
thing.
no, well, technically, depending on how it follows up, but
Mhm.
generally speaking, the Native Americans would set fire to the grass so that that would stimulate new growth, and then that would attract the bison, and then they didn't have to travel so far to get the bison that they lived off of. So no, that might actually turn out to be okay if as long as we don't get any follow-on rains and causes erosion and things of that nature.
Because I know that controlled, forest fire burns have positive effects down the road. It's just it's very negative in the short term.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, I
Well,
think
there's. I don't know if we've lost. I know there's been some problems. I think there was a lady. I don't know if we've had any fatalities yet or not. I do not recall, but it's that's mainly all. It's mainly all rural.
I mean, I've done
Croplands.
controlled burns on farmland before.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but
Well,
it's
and
not uncontrolled burns.
yeah, and there's a bison young family that raises bison down in Oklahoma whose channel I follow occasionally, and they did that with a specific purpose in mind of taking and regenerating the grass on that particular patch of ground for their bison herd.
Hmm. This is interesting. Everything Electric Show said EV sales passed petrol car sales for the first time. I wonder what market that would be in.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, it could be globally, but
Well, but weren't we only at 25% of world car sales were EV last year?
I don't know. Somebody, hey, Solar Time 8983, give us a link so we can follow up on that.
Yeah.
I'll
Um,
post it on the site.
yeah. Um, let's see what else we got here today. Oh, we want to talk about the Chevy Bolt. So, how reliable is a used Chevy Bolt? Here's what JD Power has to sell. Has to say, not to sell.
Sell.
JD Power data shows the U.S. Chevy Bolt has average reliability. Early models suffered major battery fire recalls, but most received full battery replacements. Later years, especially the 23 and newer, score better for quality and owner satisfaction. Despite past issues, the Bolt remains one of the more dependable and affordable used EV options. It's definitely affordable. It's
Oh yeah,
if somebody's in like the ride share or okay, a British show.
the British
Okay.
show, yeah.
Yeah, so it wouldn't surprise me if that happened in the UK.
In
Now,
the UK,
still
definitely.
doesn't the UK still have incentives though for driving an EV?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I
can't remember.
believe they do. I believe they still have incentives, but yeah, that'd be pretty incredible. One of the things that I remember, um, there was also some discussion of whether a car was petrol, diesel, or EV. And so I don't know how much people still drive diesel cars.
Those sales have just gone off dramatically from what
Because I think most people, or a lot of your diesel cells really dropped off. And those were probably, a lot of those people were probably early EV adopters. Because a lot of people were driving, those because I remember like Volkswagen Jetta on the highway diesel got like 44 miles per gallon on diesel. The problem was diesel was $1 more than gas.
No.
So it's like it's not always more expensive, but it's usually close. The second generation Chevy Bolt is expected to drop for the 27 model year. This new generation is more of a refresh than a complete redesign. There's one major difference. The first gen Bolt had a 7-year production run, but GM decided to give 18 months to buy the new version before killing it again. With that in mind, it's probably a good idea for potential buyers to start researching the 27 model now so they're ready to go when the car hits dealerships.
Now, that being said, I just came across an article that says that General Motors is rethinking that decision. So it may not. And the other thing too that is curious, they stopped producing the car in 2023. So how can you have a 2023 plus Chevrolet Bolt? What is a 2023 plus? That was the year they stopped making it. Now my car was 2022, And then, so there was one more year beyond what my car, when it was produced, but I've got no clue as to they didn't make it, to my knowledge, a 2024, a 2025, and certainly not a 2026.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, I was doing some research for a friend as to the best like ride share and delivery car he could get a deal right now.
Mm-hmm.
And AI points at the Bolt. 200 and basically about 250 miles of range.
Yep.
Look at this. Here's one with 76,000 miles on it here in Nebraska for $10,900.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking cheap transport, four-door car. You can do
what year is it?
That one's a 19.
Oh, a 19. All right, so it's
Yeah.
a few years old now.
But let's see. Here's a 17 with 10.8, but it's only got 33,000 miles. Now, the 8-year warranty is over with, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, you got a 100,000 mile warranty on the battery, anyways. But the difference between the 17 at 10.8 versus a 22 that's 5 years newer is only 16.8. Let's see.
Yeah, I paid a little over 18,000 for my 2022 with just under 30,000 miles on
Oh
it.
my, look at the mileage on this one. A 2019 with 2,400 miles.
2,000?
Yeah.
Wow. No, they
Yeah.
didn't. That was the little old lady in
$14,000.
Pasadena.
Yeah. It'd be shipping from Winter, South Dakota. Oh, somebody up in South Dakota wasn't driving it a whole lot. $13,000 for that. I mean,
that's a deal, man. Unless there's
yeah, but that is a crazy deal. And you figure that warranty runs out in 27. Okay. So
right.
the warranties, you only got a year warranty. Man, you could get that and do ride share. You could put that whole, you could run that thing 70 hours a week for a whole year to get that 100,000 miles. That would be cheap driving on that thing. And, even once you put 100,000 miles on that car, it's still got value. So, people talk, it's funny. I've heard people refer to EVs as disposable cars. And it's like, when you start getting to one like this one for 10.9, man, you're not far off. There's some weird things. If you went and you traded in, I wonder if it would give me something for Chicago or for Colorado. I'm not going to try to work that right now, but if you're low income in Colorado and you trade in a gas car that's 12 years old, you can get a $6,000 tax credit. And so you trade in that old gas car that's probably not worth a whole lot, plus get the $6,000. And but you have to be the car you trade in has to be registered in Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was about the only requirement, is the car had to be registered in Colorado that you're trading in. And that's still a pretty,
and
you
then
can still get some pretty
once you've got
deals.
it, all you need is a 110 plug.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
all you need.
Yeah. Well, if you're doing delivery and stuff like
that's
that,
different. Yeah, of course. If you're doing it as a business, then you can justifiably have upgrade to 240 volt and that type of thing. But if you're just somebody that does a daily commute, why not? Why not? I mean, I've said before, I ran my Fiat for 3 years, charging it off of 110.
Yep. Oh, so Reuters actually reported on what Solar Times is talking about back in January. So in December, electric vehicles were 22.6% of cars registered in the EU. Petrol cars were 22.5%. So it was 0.1% more of pure petrol cars. So that didn't factor in hybrids or plug-in hybrids, or but it was more than
Okay.
just gas only cars. So that's good for the EU. That's an interesting.
Yeah. Thanks for the. I'll
Yeah,
make
thanks for
sure
letting us
I
know about
link
that.
that. So yeah.
Yeah, I found it on Reuters.
Okay.
Anyways, um, yeah, so that's really a pretty cool deal. But I just think that the Chevy Bolt is a great value, and it's a nice little car. I remember a lot of the deals we've really seen over the years have been on the Nissan Leaf. The Leaf has
Mhm.
always had great deals, and
Yeah.
now there's even one called a Leaf Plus, and the Leaf Plus I think might have a 200-mile range. Um, it might be even 250 or something like 220 or 250. So, if you were looking for something like that for like delivery or ride share, I'd
Right.
definitely look at the Leaf Plus. If you weren't doing those, I would just get the basic Leaf because it's still a whole lot cheaper.
So when you say rideshare, this is somebody that's going to be Uber
Uber
or
and Uber and Lyft, or
Lyft. Yeah.
but if you're doing those, you probably should do delivery as well. And there's a lot of delivery services out there. I mean, there's one called Spark that's for Walmart, where you could either do shopping, you can do delivery, and you can do shopping plus delivery. There's ones out there with Amazon. Um, there's just a lot of them, more than just like DoorDash and Uber Eats and
Right.
Uber and Lyft. There's just so many, there's a lot of them out there that are in these different spaces. And, it certainly in a driving intensive business, an EV is the way to go because you cut your costs down dramatically. Um, I remember seeing a stat once that the average Uber driver, it costs them about $7 an hour to operate a gas car, but if you had a Prius, you could cut that down even more. But if you had a Model 3, it cut that almost in half. So
Wouldn't
you'd
surprise
be
me.
in the $3 to $4 range in a Tesla Model 3 for cost per hour of driving and including depreciation on the car. And so that was pretty significant. Anyways, Bill, that's all we've got to cover today. People apologize for Bill's computer problems. No, I get them sometimes too, so I can't really sit and blame Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, like I said, this is becoming. It's done yeoman service, but once I get through tax season, like for example, tomorrow I have to go pay the tax and license on the Bolt,
mhm.
and there's a nice little $150 surcharge is put on there because I don't buy gas, so I'm going to help the state maintain its roads and bridges to the tune of 150 extra bucks on
That's
top
because
of
your
all the
Bolt weighs
other
three
charges.
times as much as a normal car.
Pardon?
Because your Bolt weighs 3 times as much as a normal
Oh,
car.
it does not. It weighs about 800 pounds more. So, yes, it weighs, but not 3 times. So, but anyway, hey.
Whoever our state senate was it a state? No, it was a U.S. senator from Nebraska, right? That made that statement about how EVs weigh 3 times as much
Yes,
as gas
yes.
cars.
Ms. Deb Fisher. So,
Yeah, but that was all about comparing the Hummer EV, and the Hummer EV does weigh 9,000
oh,
pounds.
yeah, the
It
Hummer
is
EV
heavy.
is quite literally nearly a tank. So, yeah.
It is. Anyways, folks,
All right,
thanks
everybody.
for watching. I'll be back with our engineer, Mike Herzog, tomorrow. Bill and I will probably be back on Friday. All right. Otherwise, folks, have a great day.